Let's start with some humiliation and some humble pie, I guess. This is the Premier League table as of today, which is the 22nd of January, 2023. What we're here to look at is the current table and the predictions I made. Now that we're at the halfway point, we can see how my predictions are shaping up compared to the reality. And what I'll say is, right out the gate, I think it's been a fucking uncharacteristically unpredictable Premier League season. I've got to say, I don't think anybody could have accurately predicted the table. I don't think people would have had Brentford and Brighton and Fulham in the top 8. I don't think people would have had Newcastle at third. I don't think people would have had Arsenal on 50 points from 19 games played at the halfway point of the season. So I think I can be forgiven. One thing I will say is it turns out I have a better eye for shite than I do for quality, evidently, because the top half of the table bears no fucking resemblance to reality whatsoever. But the bottom half of the table's pretty fucking good, actually. It's pretty fucking close. I do want to say, like, it's all the years working in esports. It's given me a keen eye for garbage, like, so. Anyway, let's get a W out of, let's get one of them. Let's get a W out the way. I did say Haaland was going to be the Golden Boot scorer. I don't know what he's on as of today, but I want to say it's 25 Premier League goals from 20 games. 25 it is, yeah. He had a hat-trick against Wolves today. Penalty, 2 tap-ins, penalty header and a tap-in. A classic Haaland hat-trick, essentially. I think, 25 in 19 is, crazy. 25 and 20 or whatever. Yeah, on 19th, didn't he miss a game? So, I mean, just wild, just a wild fucking return. No one's going to overtake him. He's already ahead of last season's Golden Boot winner with half a season left to play. He could still win the Golden Boot if he got injured now. That's how fucking mad it's been. So all those dickheads who said Haaland wasn't going to be good enough and Haaland was going to have an adjustment period or Haaland was coming from a farmers league. I mean, you've all been made to look like fucking fools. So I'll take the W on that one because I said coming in, he's got all the attributes for the Prem. One thing that's been a bit frustrating is that, he could have had more. There was this weird period the last few games where City, I don't know if it's a bit of hubris on Pep's part or players or, I'm guessing it must be the players more than Pep. A spear can be effective if you don't use the tip. But the tip of the spear is the pointy bit that you really fucking do the damage with. And Haaland is the tip of the spear. In these last few games, he's been making all these wicked runs, standard Haaland runs, sits on the shoulder of a defender, just uses his incredible, he's super rapid over, just a few, those first 10 yards or whatever. He can get into space and leave a defender in the dust every time. And he's been making those runs, and for whatever reason, City just haven't been wanting to feed him the ball. And I could see Haaland was getting a little bit frustrated. Against Wolves, every ball was going to Haaland today. So I think, Pep's had a pep talk. Obviously, they had a fantastic comeback against Tottenham a few days ago. And so, clearly they have to get Haaland in the game more and use him. And it might be boring and it might be one-dimensional. But if defenders can't shut him down, he's going to get you goals every time. So watch this space. He'll probably finish the season closer to 40 goals than he is to 20 goals. You know what I mean? It's not even a crazy prediction at this point. So just a wild fucking debut season for Haaland and completely justifies the hype. Now, let's start with the table. My prediction is that Liverpool are going to win the league. In reality, they're 9th. Now, I talked about this in the last Prem review. The one thing I think I really underestimated is how tired and laboured Liverpool's midfield actually is and how a lot of them have really dropped off just in terms of what they can deliver. They look like really, really just exhausted in the centre of the park, and the younger players that are coming through just don't have the quality to actually go out there and deliver stuff. You've got Hendo. I love Henderson. Henderson's turnaround at Liverpool to emerge as captain fantastic for that team was like a great story after, people probably don't remember if you go far back. There was a period of time he was coming in for a lot of criticism and people saying he weren't good enough to wear the shirt. But like the reality is I don't know if the World Cup like just fucked him, but the World Cup might have been a factor, but he looks tired. He's so leggy now and like laborious. He's not getting to the tackle. So he's not even winning the ball. And then obviously his passing distribution hasn't been good this season. Fabinho has just been, off the pace as well. Looks to be beat. I know they've got like Elliott coming through, and everyone wants him to be good, but I don't think he's at that level yet to be a starter for Liverpool. And the transfer window's going to close soon, and Liverpool have signed Gakpo, who, spoiler, doesn't look like he's got the X factor for me as a striker. And I know, obviously, they haven't been able to rely on Salah getting the goals. And obviously, Nunez is out the team at the moment. And they haven't been great defensively either, as we've talked about on multiple occasions. So it's they have to sign midfielders, I think. I don't even think just one. They really could have done with getting like a Maddison, someone like that, in this transfer window. Tielemans would have been fantastic for them. I'm thinking about Leicester because obviously it's a fire sale over there right now. But, they could have picked up one of the Brighton players. You see like Matoma's just gone fucking Super Saiyan these last few games. Don't tell me Mitoma couldn't get a game at Liverpool. Trossard made his Arsenal debut. Did 21 mil for Trossard. I think that's a fucking steal. A lot of people talking about Caicedo going there. That's another great deal. These are all players, by the way, that like I know Brighton are having a great season and are continuing to defy expectations, even without Potter being there. But if Liverpool give you the call and Liverpool offer a club like Brighton the money, everyone's taking this deal. So, and McAllister, I'm leaving McAllister out of the equation. I mean, I think Caicedo would be a better fit, for what Liverpool need right now. But yeah, there's just no engine in the midfield anymore for Liverpool. And man alive, I expected them to be top 4 halfway point of the season. I honestly don't think they can do it. I think their top 4 aspirations are over. United have got themselves into shape. Newcastle are a challenger that's emerged from nowhere. Spurs aren't going to stay this bad. They're in a rough patch of form right now, but they've had some tough games. It's not going to stay that way. And I just don't. And Chelsea, I mean, they've just spent fucking $500 million. £500 million fucking pounds on wingers, so all wingers. So they're going to have a team of just all wingers running. And you have to think Chelsea are going to kick on up the table as well. So I think Liverpool don't get top 4 this season. And what that does for the club and what that does for Klopp and what that does for the new owners that might be coming in, I don't know. But anyway, massive fucking fail on my part to not see that coming. I really thought with the pre-season and the Community Shield, I really thought Liverpool could still do it, but absolutely off the pace on that one. Next up, Man City in at second. I think that's fair. I think that's accurate. I'll give myself a W for that one. I think Man City will finish second this season. They seem to be a little bit defensively frail, even with Haaland being the Golden Boot scorer. They seem to be a little bit lacking than they were in previous seasons, and they've got players that are playing immense football right now, but the defensive frailties have been exposed time and time again. Even though they've got the best goal difference in the league, they're doing that by spanking people, spanking shitters in particular. They'll always bag 3-4 goals against a team in the bottom half of the table, it feels like, and obviously and Tottenham. But for me, I think they're like, put it this way, they shipped 2 terrible goals against Tottenham in that 4-2 game the other day, and if you do that against anyone other than a beleaguered Tottenham, you probably only get a draw there at best, even with Mahrez, just having one of the best halves of football anyone in the Prem has had this season. So I think they'll fall short. And the reason for that is obviously Arsenal. To my credit, I'm going to give myself half a W. I don't know what a W into an L looks like, but I'm going to give myself half and half on that one, because I did say in the predictions video, Arsenal are genuine title contenders this season. I did say that. I said the signing of Jesus is a masterstroke. They've got unbelievable talent, super good young players coming through. Gabriel was a great signing as well. For me, they just feel like they are a complete team, a complete 11. Now, the problem was their squad depth, as we know. And my prediction was that the squad depth would cost them. I said it would be catastrophic if Jesus got injured at the World Cup. And fucking hell, I called that one as well. So that's a big W. But what I didn't get right was that it wasn't catastrophic. I didn't think Eddie Nketiah was ready. Today, dickheads, he just beat United. I mean, he missed some chances. He should have had a hat-trick, really. But Eddie Nketiah led the line as well as, Jesus would have done. He got 2 goals. He's showing, he's maturing and developing every game. Remember, he was never meant to have a run of Prem games like this. He was always meant to be the understudy and the guy who was getting a run out in the cup. Now he's the starting striker for United, the lone striker who's got to hold the ball up and bring in their brilliant midfield with Saka, Martinelli, Odegaard in there, who are all banging in goals for fun. And he's doing it, and they don't look any different with him in the team. They don't look any different with Eddie as the starter at all. He might not have the same type of presence in the box or around the box that Jesus does. He might not be able to go past a man like Jesus does. He's not as good a player as Jesus, but in terms of doing his job and scoring the goals, I think he's had a goal a game since he come in the team, pretty much, if you average it out. So, I mean, Arsenal, for me, I don't see how they can lose the league. Now, listen, it's only the halfway point. All sorts of crazy shit can happen. All sorts of terrible refereeing can happen. It's the Prem. But I think it's Arsenal's league to lose. That table has them 5 points ahead of City with a game in hand. But, it was a massive win over United today. Massive win over Tottenham the other day. We, Newcastle, we were able to grind out a draw with them, and it was hard. And actually, Arsenal were robbed. They should have had a penalty. They are beating the teams that are around them. And if they can put it on City and, turn the screw, I think Arsenal have a run of games they should win now. I really do think Arsenal can... I mean, this is the best Arsenal team I've seen since the Invincibles. I loved that team. My favourite lineup of all time is the great 80s, AC Milan lineup with, Rijkaard, Van Basten, Hullet, Baresi, a young Maldini watching on the bench. Can I have a game, sir? Coming through the ranks. That was a club team like nothing I've ever seen. You can have a soft spot for the Galacticos as well. I get it. But then obviously it's the Invincibles for me. I thought that assembled squad was fucking insane. To go a Premier League season undefeated, nearly 50 games undefeated in a row. Crazy. Just a crazy achievement. And doing it playing wonderful football. None of this attritional bullshit. And this is the best Arsenal since then. This is the best Arsenal. You look at that team and you think, yeah, Saka, better than Overmars, isn't he? You know what I mean? And Martinelli absolutely killing it. Definitely better than, a Freddie Ljungberg who was in that squad. Or, Thomas Partey, I think, has been fantastic this season. Obviously, no one praises him because of that other thing he's got hovering over his head. And no doubt he'll be airbrushed from history, if he's guilty and rightly so. But at the moment, just purely from a footballing perspective, I think he's been brilliant and really underpraised, actually. Odegaard is insane. I mean, I don't even know what the comparison would be, but maybe a Fabregas, in his prime, or even an Arteta. I don't really know. Odegaard's something else. He just exudes class. And so, yeah, this Arsenal squad is mustard. It's a real good team. It's a young team. They've got the opportunity to, add bits like Trossard and maybe get some defensive strength. Maybe they don't even need that. Ben White, Tomiyasu, people are jockeying for positions. So who really knows, But the bottom line is it's a young team as well. And they can be this good for many, many years. So, yeah, I think they're the league favourites. Don't think that's crazy. It's in their hands. They can win. Tottenham at 4th. This is sort of an L, but maybe not. because it's like putting Tottenham fourth was contingent on a number of things. I did say Chelsea were going to be defensively brittle this season. Spot on about that. Worse than I could have even imagined. I felt that Tottenham were good enough to get fourth and that Conte would make it work. They were unlucky. Kulishevsky's been injured for long periods of time. Son went away and had surgery to fix an eye problem. There've been some movement in the back four, and crucially, Lloris has been a fucking disaster. Now, these are things that you can't really legislate for in a season. I don't know what happened to Lloris this season, but he's fucking terrible. I mean, absolutely abysmal. And, making mistakes, no senior level. I think I've seen him get beat at the near post in an embarrassing fashion about 5 times this season. Like, it's just, these are like rookie mistakes. This is like what you do when you're playing 5-a-side with the boys. Like, it's like you're meant to be, you're just in a fucking World Cup final. What's going on here? So Tottenham have got problems, but and just a lack of creativity in the midfield in general. They don't have a good midfield. It's totally dysfunctional. Basuma's a joke. Højbjerg's a joke. I don't care. I know Tottenham fans seem to like Højbjerg. I don't fuck with him at all. Kulishevsky's the only one with any caliber going forward. Sessegnon's dog shit. And so there's no quality, but they don't even have good defensive midfielders either. So, you can't really grind out a result or maybe sneak a goal through Harry Kane because your defenders aren't getting close enough to the other defenders. They got outplayed by Douglas Luiz, for fuck's sake. Villa, absolutely dominated, bossed by him. So, yeah, it's been embarrassing, but even with all of that, they're still in the hunt for fourth rather. They're fifth at the moment. So I guess overall it doesn't look that bad. Chelsea at fifth. I mean, this was before Tuchel was fired. This was when the board had given Tuchel all that money to spend, bought him the team he wanted, then fired Tuchel over some weird, backroom bullshit, wasn't doing enough and blah, blah, blah. I don't even know what went down there. But basically, yep, Tuchel out. And so Potter in. I like that move, but you're going to have to give him time. And I'm going to just say this. These signings that they're making, they're mental. They are so fucking stupid. Paying money to loan João Felix for a season, right? When you desperately need a goal scorer, a proven goal scorer, a 20-goal-a-season striker. You desperately need that at Chelsea. You've only got Aubameyang, right? Who was brought in because Tuchel and him had a previous relationship. Aubameyang don't even want to be there no more. They paid 11 mil for a dead signing, right? That's Chelsea. They're just burning money. So they bring in João Felix on a loan move, right, with no option to buy permanently. And in fact, João Felix has signed an extension with Atletico Madrid. So they're just paying money to have him for a little bit with no possibility of him permanently becoming a Chelsea player, and he doesn't even suit what they need, and got sent off in his debut hilariously. They sniped out Mudryk, which is, again, he looked class in his debut against Liverpool. Absolutely looked amazing, especially when you consider he's not even match fit. Every time he got the ball, it looked like something was going to happen. But he's on an 8-year contract. He's only played in Ukraine. You don't know what the wear and tear is going to be like, what the pace is going to be like. And, overinflated transfer fee, with the bonuses, that could take it up to in excess of 80 million, 85 million. So they've spent just mad money on them. For me, it's not Potter making these signings. It's not Potter making these signings. This is a new owner who wants to show he will flamboyantly splash the cash, but he's playing football manager with a real life football team. Anytime he is, Tottenham want this player, Arsenal want this player, United want this player, he just goes in and snipes the deal. Now you've got 10 fucking wingers, one striker who doesn't want to be there, no cover for Reece James being out, no one even close who's going to do what Kante does, and Kante's injured at the moment as well, massive injury for them, and 2 goalkeepers that honestly both have their own quirks and flaws. Maybe they could have looked for a keeper, I don't know, but it's pretty wild. It's pretty wild that Chelsea have spent all this money, close to £500 million, and I think Graham Potter is just like looking at a squad where, but the size of the Chelsea squad is closer to an NFL team than it is a Premier League team, and he's got to somehow keep the board happy by using all these marquee signings. But Potter's the guy at Brighton. They were playing Moneyball down there. You know, they spent money, by the way, if you go and look it up. They did spend, but they spent it smart. And, you know, that was Potter and his scouting team doing that. So, you know, just absolute trash. Them being fifth now, I think is a bit of a pipe dream. Maybe not. Remember, there's only 4 points between 10th and 5th. So they can get back there. I don't think with this higgledy-piggledy squad they've assembled, top 4 is a reality. So, you know, maybe that'll be a W at the end of the season. We'll wait and see. West Ham at 6th. That's just high comedy. Like, they've absolutely done me. Oh, more than Liverpool, West Ham have done me. This is 2 big fat L's, like nuts dripped on your chin. Fucking hell. I don't know what's happened. I don't know what's happened to West Ham. Like, their squad should be... They were in Europe last season, and then they spent something like 150 mil. Like, so you go up the table, don't you? Or you maintain. Not this time, evidently. They're going to defy all fucking logic and expectations. They're legitimately in a relegation battle. Don't let the fact that they're, you know, 16th at the moment fool you. They're legitimately going to stay down. I don't even... If they could climb up to 10th, it'd be a miracle for my money. The players they relied on last season, Souček, Bowen, Antonio, all gone, all missing, like just AWOL. Don't even know where the fuck they're at. Bowen and Antonio actually showed up for the Everton game when they beat Everton 2-0. But if you're only doing it against Everton, you are not going to play many teams as bad as Everton this season. So, you know, big problems. And I'll tell you this, I think the fight's gone out of Moyes. I think the fight's gone out of David Moyes. Like, I remember every time David Moyes used to lose a game, face like thunder. He had a face like thunder every time. He'd be arguing with the journalists, asking him the questions. He'd be fucking on the touchline, arguing with the players. He'd be putting his fucking, the famous Moyes death stare on people. And instead, you know, he loses and he goes, well, you know, that's football, you know, nah. Like, I think he's given up, and I don't know why. I think probably he should be... He's on notice for me. Like, that squad being where they are, keep in mind, Declan Rice is still in there, and Declan Rice is just going to moonwalk out of that team at the end of the season. Like, no one's going to call Rice a fraud. For me, he's been a fraud this season, but that's a controversial opinion. No one wants to hear it. But he's going to moonwalk out of that team end of the season. He's going to probably go to Arsenal, except last minute Chelsea will buy him for 200 mil or something stupid, because that's just fucking what's happening in the Prem right now. But he's not there. He's not a West Ham player next season. Like, be under no fucking illusion about that. So this is the worst one, because I'm 10 places off the pace here. United at 7th. You know, listen, I don't want to give myself an L for it, but I can't claim a W for it. I'm a massive fan of Ten Hag. I've said it right from the get-go. Ten Hag is the fucking man. Ten Hag was tailor-made for United. Like, I hope everybody realises it now, because he is the guy with balls. Like, he is the guy with balls. Like, his head looks like a ball. It is a testicle with eyes. That's because he's just made of pure testosterone, a man assembled out of balls. Like, he came into this job, he didn't give a flying fuck. He didn't give a flying fuck about your reputations, who you are, how much you're getting paid or nothing. First thing he did, he dealt with Ronaldo. Ronaldo was a fucking blight on the club. His ridiculous end stage, you know, narcissism, the likes of which, like, he wasn't like that a few years ago, but you know, all about his legacy, all about wanting to be in the team week in, week out, even though real talk, you weren't good enough. All me. Then, when he realised Ten Hag wasn't going to put up with his bullshit, goes into that stupid interview with fucking Turbo Gammon, Piers Morgan, and fucking, the club has betrayed me and let me down. Out you go. It doesn't even matter if we take a hit on you. It's untenable. Keep in mind, by the way, he didn't even stick around in 2 of the games when he got subbed. And Ten Hag warned him after the last one. So you've already tackled one of the biggest egos, one of the most fevered egos in football, and you've done, and a fan favourite to boot, and you've done that, and you've come out, unscathed. What's the next problem? Harry fucking Maguire, right? How the fuck can you drop an England regular, an England captain? And the United captain, like, how the fuck do you drop that guy? Like, how do you do it, right? Like, it's insane. The press should be all up your ass. Well, what you do is you play him, you let him play dog shit, because Harry Maguire is one of the worst signings of all time. Like, literally one of the worst signings of all time. It's right up there with that time fucking Graham Souness signed George Weah's fake cousin. It's trash. He's the most expensive defender in the fucking world. He's got no pace, can't pass, no positional sense. Oh, but he can head the ball. Yeah, because half of him's head. Like, he can, obviously, he's 50% head. Yes, he can head the ball. Of course he can. He looks like a fucking Easter Island statue on legs. Of course he can head the ball. You got to have more of a game than that in the fucking Prem. So, how do you deal with it? You fucking wait. You wait till he plays into a position where it makes sense to drop him. You drop him. You tell the press there's always a way back for him. And then you just let Harry Maguire's mouth do the rest. Remember, Harry Maguire was fucking saying to the press after he got dropped, yeah, people are only making a big deal out of it because I'm like the England captain, the United captain, comes with the territory. I don't even think I've been playing that bad. And there you go. Your fate is sealed. You just look like a delusional cunt. And by the way, the reason they're not 7th or worse now, purely on these two moves. This is before we talk about any of the tactical stuff Ten Hag has done. By dropping Maguire, you climb 3-4 places in the league. He is that much of a drag factor on United. Varane just looks so much better. Martinez looks so much better. Shaw looks so much better. Everyone can just breathe a sigh of relief because there's not this big, lumbering, immobile cunt, Lenny from Mice and Men. Oh, I'm tending the football, George. I'm tending the football, George. You don't have to worry about it. You can actually hold the back line. You can play offside. You don't have to pick up Maguire's shit. And so for Ten Hag to just even take those decisions, he's an absolute gangster. But what else has he done? Somehow he's moulded Rashford. I said Rashford's not good enough for United. I have high standards for United because obviously I grew up with Sir Alex Ferguson's United. And so I didn't think Rashford was good enough for United. He's turned Rashford into what Ronaldo was. Like, for me, like, he is just a nightmare on that left channel. Like, he's scoring a goal a game. He's absolutely just battering defenders, keeping them pegged on their back heels, running at them, looks dangerous every time he goes forward. And keep in mind, it was only a few games ago that Ten Hag actually left him out and fined him for being late to a meeting and sleeping in. When he was already scoring a goal a game and was the top scorer, Ten Hag left him on the bench for half a game, brought him on, and then obviously Rashford scored the winner in that game against Wolves. So that's where Ten Hag's at. Ten Hag exudes a demand for excellence. And you can either come along or you don't. It's as simple as that. It is very much his way or the highway. And trust me, United fans, if the club, the board, the players all listen to him and go with him, you are going to be legitimately challenging for a title next season. There's been a couple of flops. Anthony, not particularly a great signing. Casemiro's been transformative. Probably a different story in the Arsenal game if he plays. The defence is great. De Gea's out at the end of the season. It's clear him and Ten Hag have no time for each other. De Gea's going to go and he's already sniffed around bringing in, a goalkeeper that he can work with for this season, should it be necessary. But ultimately, if you get, I haven't even talked about this. Weghorst, right? Brings in a player like Weghorst. This is how much Ten Hag has won over the United fans, and I think just football fans in general. Remember when they were linked at the start with Arnautovic and everybody lost their shit? She's like, you were lost with a 33-year-old ex-Stoke player. It's just not United calibre. Now they've signed Weghorst, a 30-year-old Burnley player. Do you know why no one's complaining about that move? because Ten Hag's earned it. He's earned the credibility. And today, thought Weghorst, like, put it this way, if you'd have played Martial, you are struggling in that game. Weghorst today was fucking great. Put himself about with the defenders. You expect that. Laid off the ball, exactly what you need. And also was coming back to the fucking centre of the park to win balls and help defend. Which was very needed today without Casemiro. So, I mean, Weghorst is going to do you a job. It's not going to be a permanent thing. He's not going to go down as a United legend. He's going to score you some crucial goals this season, though, like 100%. Be ready for it. Be ready for a Weghorst winner in a must-win game, like, dictate whether or not you get Champions League or UEFA. 100%. So, I'm loving what Ten Hag had done. Ten Hag is done, and even though he was there when I made that prediction, I didn't know just how much of the human bollock he actually was, and it's great. So I don't know. I'll take an L. I'll take an L just because I like Ten Hag that much, 8th, Newcastle. I would have bit your hand off for 8th after fucking 2 years of Steve Bruce. Would have bit your hand off at the start of the season. Thank you very much. For 8th, can we just be a real football team again today? But what I hadn't banked on is Eddie Howe is a fucking genius. He's a genius. Do you want to know why we're 3rd in the table right now? Right? And with a goal difference of 22, right? Which is like literally just behind, Arsenal, City. Like we're ahead of everybody else, right? So here's why. Because defensively, we're probably the best defensive team in the league. Do you understand? I have never been able to say that at any point I've been alive in my life. Do you know how mad that is? To say that about Newcastle when we've had fucking Boom Song, Peacock, Howie, Albert, Titus Bramble, Beresford, Warren Barton, like Cassapa. We've had Dabazas. We've had some of the fucking most unbelievably bad defenders to ever ply their trade. Marcellinho, I always forget him. 4.5 mil. Thanks, Ruud Gullit. We've had some of the worst fucking defenders to ever play in the Premier League historically, and we've paid big money for them every time, right? So and we could never win games because our defense just wasn't fucking good enough, right? Crazy. So now when we signed Burn, I was him and Botman are just quality. Like our entire backline's just been amazing. We got a really good goalkeeper as well. We'll Pope there, and I feel like the only thing I would say is maybe Eddie Howe's been a little bit too negative in the midfield, but fuck it, I'll take it, because obviously St. Maximan's not getting in the team right now. He is coming back from an injury, but he's match fit now. He could play. He just wants to keep Joelinton in there. Now, Joelinton, remember, was a £40 million striker from Hoffenheim who cannot kick a ball properly. He still can't kick a ball properly, but what he can do is kick a player properly and win a tackle. So Eddie Howe has took one look at this player, which any other manager in the world would have said, I have a £40 million dog shit striker that's been left here like a fucking booby trap, like by a previous occupant. I have to try and offload him, and he goes out on loan, so you don't have to pay his fucking salary, and you know what I mean? That's how it usually goes down. Instead, what he's done is he said, well, what can Joelinton do? He's big, he's strong, he wants to be loved, right? He just wants the fans to like him after he was just getting heckled and booed, like Hamilton Rickard at Middlesbrough, where he literally was reduced to tears on the field because he missed an open goal and he'd been, barracked the entire season. Anyway, Joelinton just wants to be loved, so he just runs. He just runs in the park, he'll chase every ball, he'll run everyone down, and he's bigger than you, and he's stronger than you. Because he was built to be a striker, but now he's a defensive midfielder, so deal with that. And so, when you play Joelinton, you end up with, between him and Bruno, probably like one of the best defensive midfield pairings in the league as well. It's very hard to break Newcastle down, because if you get the break of the ball in the midfield, Bruno will chase and put in a tackle. Also, by the way, when he wins the ball back, he never gets caught in transition. He always gets it away. Joelinton is on you no matter what. You never have any time. We just agitate. And so Yeah, we don't have a lot of quality going forward. Callum Wilson, I love Callum Wilson. Like, he's done a good job for us. He put up with all the Bruce Ball bullshit and still got a decent return. He's battled through injuries. But in the future, is he the man for Newcastle? No, obviously Callum Wilson won't be there. We're already looking at younger strikers that are going to replace him. Isak, being one of them, coming back from an injury himself, looking half decent. Joe Willock, probably going to be out the door at some point, although Eddie Howe likes him at the moment. And Willock's done a good job in our system, no doubt. He's also very energetic and chases a lot of balls. Just not a lot of end product. Longstaff's got to go. He's fucking dog shit. Get him out my sight. But anyway, long term, we're going to end up being a more traditional 4-4-2, probably with, Saint Maximin, a recognised wide right player, Isak, and another striker. I'll even forgive Chris Wood, one of the worst bits of business ever done at the club. Dog shit. Apparently we're somehow getting to jettison him out to Nottingham Forest. Why anybody would want Chris Wood after watching the Sheffield Wednesday FA Cup game, I don't know. But the bottom line is, if Newcastle get top 4 this season, which I still don't think we can do, I still think it would be a miracle. It would be insane. But if we do get top 4, it's really tough. Because if Arsenal win the league, you probably think Arteta Manager of the Year. But real talk, we were under Bruce, we were in a fucking relegation battle. We were just dog shit. And 50% of the squad was like the same, right? Eddie Howe's come in and took a team that barely escaped relegation into a top 4 spot. If we get it, Eddie Howe's got to be Manager of the Year, I think. Just all things being relative. So, anyway, Brighton, I've got them 9th, the 6th. I'll have a W on that. I think a lot of people said I was overrating Brighton when I did it at the time. And I don't think I am overrating Brighton, and I think people can see why I rate Brighton so highly. I know they've lost Trossard. I don't think they're going to miss a beat. I think they're still on course for a very solid top half. I think honestly they probably will finish 8th come the end of the season, or thereabouts. At the end of the day as well, they're still bringing young players through. That Ferguson lad they've brought through. I said in a previous episode of Prem Review, I'll say it here, he's going to be at a real big club in 3 years. He's insane already. Matoma, he's got a super cool story, by the way, if you go and look into it. Matoma turned down going professional as a footballer because he wanted to, when he was in Japan, because he wanted to complete his university course, and so he delayed his own career because he wanted to have an actual trade and a degree before he went professional. And so Matoma's been sick, as we've already talked about. But I think Brighton, Potter laid some great foundations there. They're continuing to do it without him. They look a handful in every game. They humiliated Liverpool the other day with that 3-0. I mean, Liverpool, even Klopp said it was deeply concerning. I mean, but Brighton fully deserved it. And the fact that they've already got great players, they're already developing players. The team will probably get picked apart a little bit like the Leicester that won the league. They'll probably get, all the top teams are going to, take all the talent out. But for now, they're in with a shout of Europe. Wolves, an L. Okay, it's an L. Wolves are obviously just above the relegation zone, 17 points. They're only above on goal difference right now as it stands. But I think Lopetegui is going to take them up the league. I really, really do. I think they were just in a fucking rut. They were in a funk. They got mega tilted. They signed a striker. He does his ACL or whatever it was on his debut game. I think Wolves will kick up the table. They will. Forest are going to start dropping. They've had 6 points out of nowhere because of Brennan Johnson literally winning them 2 games. They're going to start plummeting down the table. They'll be back in a relegation dogfight. I think Leicester as well. So I think Wolves, Wolves can beat a Leeds. Wolves can beat a Leicester. Wolves can beat a Forest. and Lopetegui has really galvanised the team, galvanised the squad. You can see everybody celebrating when they get wins now. They have that belief. Even though they are struggling to put it in the net, they are digging out goals and putting in decent defensive performances. And so let's wait and see what next season looks like, They're probably going to lose Neves. They're going to get Cody back. So it'll be interesting. But I think Wolves will get to the lower end of mid-table and not be too far away from my prediction, I think. Then Palace I had this is 11th. They're 12th. I'll take a W on that one. I said Palace are a fucking coin flip team. They're basically mediocrity incarnate. They're super dependent on a handful of players at the club playing well. In the games they do, they can catch you off guard. In the games they don't, they invariably lose. Patrick's got his team set up pretty, decently. They're always competitive. Very rare you'll see a Palace team capitulate, and that's just Palace. I think finishing 11th, 12th is good for them with the squad they've got and the resources they've got. I think everyone's happy with it. Great fan base. So yeah, not much more to add to that. Look, I'll take the W. Leicester I had at 12th. Now they're 14th. I would claim the W, but I'm not going to. I'm going to give myself an L. Why am I giving myself an L? Leicester are bad. Brendan Rodgers is bad. He should be fired. I'm starting to believe the rumours. He cannot be fired because he's got some mad fucking payout package. That's what I believe now. Because any other manager doing as bad as he's done with the players he's got, like you said, remember they've still got like Maddison, Tielemans, Iheanacho. I know Vardy's a bit of a meme right now. I'm missing out other players but bottom line is the Leicester squad, it should be in the mix. They should be about where Villa is. They should be in the mix up there, and they really haven't been. And they haven't been because Brendan Rodgers has given up. He just sounds bored. He sounds bored and listless. Harvey Barnes, there you go, another one. He's got players at his disposal that can win games, and instead they're losing like Forest and losing to Wolves and teams like this, right? And it's like they're actually higher up than they deserve to be for my money. But keep in mind, yes, they're 14th. They're 14th by virtue of that goal difference, but they're about level with Leeds and level with West Ham. And think about all the things we've said about those two teams. So no, I think Leicester are going to get sucked back into it, and Rodgers will be gone by the end of the season. Then Villa 13th, they're 11th again. Not so bad. But this was Stevie G's Villa. Stevie G's Villa were not great. And I don't think Stevie G really had a clue. I think it's hilarious that as of the time of recording this, he's still in talks for the Poland job. What a mad fucking thing that is like. But Stevie G came into Villa. I get why he took the job. But they just looked a very ordinary side tactically. Looked to be ultra reliant on individual moments of brilliance. Towards the end of his tenure, the players just weren't playing. They were getting humbled. Remember, they got absolutely tuned up by... can't remember who it was now. Was it Brentford? I can't remember. But anyway, they got turned over. And so I think end of the day, Unai Emery's is a different kind of cat. And he's made some big decisions that I respect already. He sold Ings. I said I didn't really get what the fuss with Ings was. He's a 1 in 4 goal, like 1 in 4 striker. I don't like 1 in 4 strikers. I think 1 in 4 as a striker is not good enough for to call yourself an elite level. He's always been close, just never quite there. Apart from that one good run he had when he was at Southampton for a few years, and he did get something like 40 odd goals in 90 games. So he's gone to West Ham now. I don't know if he's going to be enough to dig him out of the hole they're in. Maybe, maybe not. But at the end of the day, I think Emery's going to help Villa galvanise, and probably they'll end up finishing 10th, actually. About there, I think, give or take. Right, Brentford. Well, this is an L. There was a lot of stuff going into this thought process with this prediction. Obviously, I thought, Brentford couldn't continue that honeymoon period. There was all that stuff with Ivan Toney. Maybe he was going to be suspended, perhaps indefinitely, who knows, for all of the betting irregularities. As it turns out, he's still playing while they're investigating it, which is crazy to me, but that's just going on. And obviously there was even talk at one point that Thomas Frank might be out of a job, which would have been insane. So there was a lot of uncertainty when I made this prediction. But I love Brentford. I love Brentford's story. I love the players they got. I love the way they play football. They're not scared of playing the same style that a City or a Liverpool try and do, with this like aggressive pressing, just trying to box you in. And Brentford, they actually play really good football. Keep in mind, they lost Eriksen. So you're expecting them to take some sort of hit. I still maintain what I said at the start. I think Eriksen, it was a loss for Brentford, but I don't think it was a massive gain for United. I know he's had a couple of good games. Someone DM'd me just before I went live saying, you said you didn't rate Eriksen. I think he's been brilliant for United. I don't think brilliant by any stripe. And I also think, notice, you can't have Eriksen without Casemiro. That's not, if you have to play a Fred or a McTominay alongside an Eriksen, you've got nothing in the midfield, like real talk. So again, it's about the standards I set United. You think about the centre midfielders they've had down the years, and Eriksen's just not the same calibre for me. But that's a personal thing. I know he's always come highly rated, Eriksen. But anyway, yeah, I'll take an L on Brentford, playing really well. I think Brentford will be top half of the table. Probably a mad, bold, reflexive opinion, because there's always a market correction come the end of the season. Big boys get their shit together. Players that aren't used to the rigours of the Premier League and the lesser teams start falling down the table. But at the end of the day, I think Brentford will get top half, and I think it'll be deserved. Leeds, I have, that's 13th, 14th, 15th, and they're 15th. That's 2 W's, isn't it, right? Leeds, for me, are a side that are really, really young, really inexperienced, loads of disparate players from different leagues around the world, but I think they've got some quality in there. I really do. I've been loving watching this Gnonto come through. He's going to be fucking sick. Obviously, we all like to meme on him and call him Major League Soccer with all the American players they've got coming in. They're going to develop into some real talent. It's just not quite there yet. It's just not quite right yet. And as long as Leeds don't do anything stupid and don't get sucked into a relegation battle, God forbid they go down, listen, they're going to be better next season for sure. It's just, this is like, you're nurturing fledglings at this point. I'm telling you, they'll be like the fucking Brighton next season. They'll make a couple of signings. The young players are going to know exactly where they are, what they need to be doing. And I think Leeds will be much, much better next season. And I think kind of at 15th, honestly. It's probably over, the way the season's panned out. I think they've been unlucky in some of the games I've watched anyway. So keep an eye on Leeds next season. But I feel good about my prediction. I think they'll be in that bottom half of the table. And that's all they really need to do while they look to get better for next season. Southampton, I had them at 16th. They're at 20th, bottom of the table. I mean, look, this is back when it was Hasenhüttl. So I said Southampton's biggest mistake is they've consistently bought inexperienced players, and they're looking to develop them, but without a foundational aspect of it there to develop. They're super reliant on fucking Ward-Prowse. They don't have a real good recognised striker. As I said, their best striker is Che Adams. And then they went and fired Hasenhüttl, who I thought actually, all told, wasn't doing a bad job. Things were going bad this season for him, but I don't think he was doing a bad job overall. And then they bring in an unproven manager from Luton with Nathan Jones, who was talked. I mean, he's a Welsh boy. I'll say this every episode of any Prem review or anything I record, right? He's a Welsh boy. I want him to succeed, right? Of course I do. We all don't get to. But he's talked bollocks since he got the job. Doesn't know what he's talking about. Doesn't have a clue about how to tactically set up in games. I know they beat City in the fucking League Cup. I don't give a fuck. If you're rock bottom of the table and still dreaming about getting these League Cup a League Cup run or even a trophy, like, I don't know, mate. I don't think you realise, like, the League Cup means fuck all if you can't stay in the Prem. For me, they could be the worst squad in the Prem, but I don't think they are. I think it's probably Everton or Bournemouth. But the reality is, his first 6 games in charge as a new gaffer, they lost every single one, and he was out of ideas, and there's no signings coming for Southampton. So, I don't know. Southampton could still go down. To my credit, I said I thought they would get sucked in, so whatever. But Southampton, I think the way the season's going to go, I don't know. I've still got a feeling about Forest, but it could be Southampton, third from bottom at the end. This is the big L, another big L, big fat L. Sat on my face, farting into my nose and my eyes. I thought Fulham, I don't know what I was thinking, putting Fulham this low. I mean, I really rated them in the Championship. They were fucking unbelievable in the Championship. Mitrovic, it wasn't just about Mitrovic. Good players across the park. Silva's done a fantastic job. For them to be 7th, though, that's what I mean. No one saw that coming. But I'll tell you, when Newcastle played them, watch that game, I made a bunch of notes for Prem Review. That fucking game was insane. Like, they got a penalty, which Mitrovic, who's got to stop taking the penalties for Fulham, that's 3 misses now this season, he did a double kick. So, in other words, it didn't count. It went in, but it didn't count because he kicked the ball with both his feet. Or rather, he kicked the ball onto his foot as he fell over and it went in. So, we only won that game on that technicality, but they were probably one of the hardest teams to break down. Like, we had so much possession. We were going forward. We had attacking chances. They were just so hard to break down. And so, you think of Fulham and you think about, games they've won, goals they've scored, Mitrovic, being up there and proving it's not just a Championship thing. Actually, beat Chelsea as well, recently, which first time they've done it in the Prem era, I think. Silva could be, any other year, Silva would be in with a shout for Manager of the Year, frankly. To come up from the Championship and to be battling up there, level on points with 6th, 2 points behind 5th, potentially getting European football. It's mad. So, super happy for Fulham fans. Always liked Fulham as a club, even back to the crazy Al Fayed years with the Michael Jackson statue outside the ground because he went to one of your games. I've always liked Fulham. I always thought they were a breath of fresh air. So there you go. Anyway, the bottom 3, I can take some W's here, I think, because I know Forest. I think Forest are coming. They've made so many signings. You would expect them to, be going up the table with their ambition and all that. But, like, for me, I still think they've spent way too much money to have a lack of quality. And I think they are going to fall off in the latter part of the season. They've only just started playing a regular 11. And if anything disrupts that, I think Forest are going to get found out. I think Henderson got injured. I've never been convinced by Forest since they've come up. So we'll wait and see. And for the bottom 2 big W's. In fact, I'll take double W's for Everton. Because everyone said I was mad. When I said Everton were the worst squad in the Prem, everyone said I was mad. When I said, Everton were going to go down this season. Everyone said I was mad. Now, here we are at the halfway point of the season. We got fucking Everton fans agree. Like, get the board out. The board are making up all these mad stories. Like, someone got a board member in a headlock, so we can't come to the games no more. Police say there's no record of any of that or any complaint relating to that or whatever. It's just Moshiri doesn't want to go. I saw that video. Frank Lampard shaking like a shitting dog, shaking the hands of the fans, nervous as the fuck, thinking he might get murdered. And the fans are all going, "You're all right, Frank, lad. It's not you, like. It's the fucking board, lad. It's the fucking board, lad. Just go out there and get that win." That was when they got beat by Southampton at home, though, so maybe things have changed right now. Everton fans are really right to be aggrieved. $500 million spent in 5 years or whatever it's been. Absolutely no quality on the pitch, no fight on the pitch. And unfortunately, you got a manager who doesn't know what the fuck he's doing. I love Lampard, right? Like, I wanted Fat Frank to succeed, but his apprenticeship got sped up way too quick. He did an okay job at Derby. Okay, as in he maintained. He needed to spend longer in the lower divisions. Instead, he fucking ended up getting airlifted into Chelsea out of the fucking blue. Some mad Abramovich move. and then obviously didn't improve them, didn't do a great job there, and then obviously ended up at Everton by virtue of the fact that he's an established name, and who the fuck would want the Everton job at the best of times? So the thing you got now is Lampard has to go. I know he said he doesn't fear the sack and he thinks the board are going to back him. The board are probably stupid enough to back him. But the bottom line is Lampard has to go, because I guarantee you, if they fire Lampard and bring in, no one wants to hear it, but you fire Lampard and bring in Sean Dyche as Everton manager, tomorrow you stay in the league. 100%. If you think that's madness, or I'm just overrating him because he's a big, burly, gravel voice, machine, much like myself, it's not that. I mean, I've listened to the guy talk. When it comes down to understanding how to disrupt other footballing teams or how to defensively contain other teams, he knows what the fuck he's doing. And Everton have a criminal lack of that right now. Like when Everton concede a goal, they capitulate, they fold. There's like so many, it's like the Southampton game. I talk about it on the Prem review thing. They basically tactically did everything wrong you do against Southampton. They didn't put anyone on Ward-Prowse and gave away stupid free kicks. What are you doing? Ward-Prowse is like, if you look at overall, his sort of goals generated, goals scored stat, he's actually more of a threat than Shea Adams. And he just had the complete freedom of the park. He could spray past, nobody was getting close to him. Nobody was kicking the shit out of him. Sometimes you just have to do it, So very surprised, because at the end of the day, they did a tactical job on City this season, but didn't respect Southampton enough to do the same on their danger man. And that's coming from the manager. Sean Dyche won't make those mistakes. Now, Sean Dyche is the type of manager who he can grind you a draw out of a game that should be a loss. It doesn't have to be a win when you're in a relegation. You just got to pick up points. Any point. And right now, Everton aren't picking up points, aren't going to pick up points. Not as things stand. There's no more signings coming. It's done. You're doing it with this squad or not at all. And so I think you need someone who's going to come in and crack some skulls. And Lampard is not that dude. So it's Dyche time. Unleash him. And I think Everton will stay up. If the board don't do that, Everton are 100% down. And then Bournemouth. Yeah, they had that good spell under O'Neill, but we all knew that couldn't last. They just don't have the squad for it, don't have the calibre for it. They're in a terrible run of form. They're in relegation form, and that's why they're in the relegation zone right now. For me, with that little run Bournemouth had under O'Neill for him to get the job, it was always a bit of a honeymoon period. It was never going to last. And I, even though Bournemouth are third from bottom right now, I'll still take a W because I think Bournemouth are down. I think it'll be a miracle if they stay up, and they are in the bottom three at the halfway point of the season. And there you go. Overall, despite it being a crazy and unpredictable season, I don't think I've done too badly. I think Liverpool threw me for a loop, and West Ham have thrown me for a loop, and Fulham have thrown me for a loop. But overall, I don't think it's the worst. I think there'll be some football influences out there with much, much worse predictions than me.